Hey, it's JK, and welcome to Fresh Leeds, the new video series where I review some upcoming games as part of sponsored content. Today, I've been sponsored by developer S-Game to look at their upcoming release, Phantom Blade Executioners. The initial release will be as a mobile game, coming out on November 2nd, but the PS5 version will be released sometime early next year. So let's talk about Phantom Blade and how well it executes its premise. Phantom Blade has been around for about 15 years in China, and this is the first time one of the games is releasing outside of that region. It's got a huge fan base there, and that's mainly due to the story being quite deep and full of twists. So I didn't really know what to expect when I started this, as to be honest, I don't play a great deal of mobile games. But the first thing I felt was, I was really impressed by the visuals this game has to offer. I'd go as far to say that I think they're absolutely gorgeous, quite frankly. The cutscenes seem to be based on a modern style of Chinese painting, but also with some anime influence in there as well. You can tell real effort has been put into both creating them and to ensure they adhere to the stylistic vision the game devs had. The music is also really on point in these cutscenes, and an atmosphere is created right from the get-go. So, starting the game, you can choose one of 5 characters to play as. I mainly use this character called Soul because he seems to be quite dark. Get it? Dark Soul? Anyway. So, the story is a bunch of people using something called Sha-Chi Mod, a way of modifying their bodies to increase their fighting power, but also causing them to lose their humanity in the process, going crazy and becoming bloodthirsty beasts. Imagine like going hollow in Dark Souls, except you've got a bunch of mech upgrades. Imagine if these hollows grew a bunch of mechanical spider arms out of them. The first big bad enemy, Tang Li, is given a backstory throughout the whole of the first chapter section, which is actually pretty well written and fleshed out, showing how he let his inferiority complex ruin his life and drive him mad. I found this pretty cool. It did actually feel like I was watching an anime storyline play out, which I'm here for. The actual encounter with him at the end of the chapter is pretty cool as well, with his second phase unveiling a crazy spider-like form with multiple limbs, along with an excellent music score behind the battle, adding to the vibe. This is the kind of over-the-top presentation I'd want with a game like this. The game looks great during the gameplay sections as well, with both foreground and background objects adhering to the Chinese painting style. I did find one section a bit confusing with this large foreground temple object, but otherwise no real issues to speak of. The levels are all pretty straightforward, move from left to right side scrolling, but there are some divergent paths you can find hidden in there to meet characters from certain side quests as well. From the levels I saw, there aren't loads of these, but perhaps in the later levels there's more divergence, but really any kind of reward for exploring the levels and not just racing through is always good to have. So this JK leads me onto the gameplay and combat. This is probably the thing you're most curious about. Well, it's a 2D hack and slash. There's a number of different combos you can do. You've got the classic die barrage attack, you've got jumping, back dodging, and a whole lot of slashing. You've got the ability to customize your combos by equipping different skills, and when you complete levels you get phantoms which can be synced to your skills to provide you with additional effects during battle, and they help provide a bit of variety and get you through the game. This is kind of where the gacha elements of gameplay come in, because which ones you get vary, similar to roguelikes such as Hades where the rewards you get are kind of random. It does make each playthrough unique though. So, I have a few thoughts though on the gameplay. For one, and this is probably more a me thing than necessarily a problem with the game itself, I really didn't like playing this with mobile style controls. You move your thumb across the touchscreen here and press these buttons with your other thumb, and holding the phone like this just never feels natural to me. Obviously, for some people, they play games solely using their mobiles, but for me, I'd really rather play with a PS5 controller. Good thing the game's getting a release on PS5 early next year. Again, this probably isn't an issue for some people, so if you're someone who regularly plays games on mobile, this probably won't bother you like it bothered me. I am an old man after all. The second thing I found is that the game seemed really easy from the couple of hours I played of it. I mean, maybe I'm so used to doing dumb stuff like trying to beat the 4 Kings on New Game Plus Plus with a great bow that now I just expect everything to be that level of difficulty. But I never felt like I was in any danger of dying here. This would be one thing if I felt like I was playing expertly, but honestly I was kind of just button bashing for the large part of this. The bigger enemies have large tails for when they're going to attack, which is easy to just walk out the way of, and through relentless attacking or just occasionally pressing the dodge button, most attacks were quite easy to avoid. Even the final boss of the chapter never really seemed like he had a chance against me. It's again maybe just the game genre. It's not to say it wasn't enjoyable, but for me personally, I want to be pulling off satisfying dodges and landing blows to punish, which I don't think I ever really needed to here. I guess I'm trying to say don't go in looking for a super challenging experience, but there's some level of enjoyment to it for sure. Saying that, and referring to my earlier points about the controls, this game has obviously been designed to play on mobile, and I think it would probably be quite difficult to actually give the precision needed with touchscreen controls to create the gameplay feedback loop I'm describing there. Maybe something to consider for the PS5 release? Now, let's address the big elephant in the room: microtransactions. Pretty much every mobile game has them, and of course Phantom Blade Executioners is no exception. Some mobile games absolutely press you to purchase these so frequently it's really obnoxious, or they make the game basically unplayable unless you do. But, and this is one of the reasons I agreed to do this dedicated video, I'm happy to say Phantom Blade Executioners is not one of these games. The game is absolutely playable without delving into these transactions, and the premium shop was only mentioned once during my time playing it. I actually had to seek it out to get footage so I could tell you guys about it here. The involvement of microtransactions in this game seems to be just that, micro. So what are my overall thoughts on Phantom Blade Executioners? Well, I think the story and the visuals are excellent. I'm genuinely curious to see how the story pans out, and that isn't necessarily something I thought I'd be saying when I started playing this. I really would like to see what the PS5 version is like when that comes out. For me, I prefer to play games on a bigger screen and with a controller, so I think this would make it a much more enjoyable experience, particularly with an action-based game such as this one. I'd also love if there was more precision in the combat, and perhaps it didn't feel like I was able to just get through by hitting buttons and hoping for the best, but I'd say the lore of the world probably has enough to cover for that, and would definitely make me consider getting the PS5 version when it's released. Although the sections I played were pretty easy, as I said, it does get a little bit difficult later on in the game, I've been advised, and I've been told it's worthwhile to stick with it and be patient because it is very rewarding at the end. If you're looking for a game that looks great, has some good character stuff, and a good atmosphere with some passable action combat, then Phantom Blade Executioners might just be for you. I'd recommend it if you're passing some time on a long train or plane journey, or just to give you a taste of the PS5 version coming out early next year. Let me know if any of you have played it and what your thoughts are in the comments below. Thanks again to Phantom Blade Executioners for sponsoring this video. That's it for me here. I'll be doing more of these videos depending on when sponsored content comes in. I'll always try to give you guys my honest opinion on stuff. I'm not just going to instantly say something's good just because I'm getting paid to talk about it. And I hope that's come across here. But for now, I've been JK Leeds. Have a good one, and see ya.